let's transition over to would I buy it? And so would I buy it? If y'all haven't seen one of these before, basically what we're doing is we're evaluating, at least on paper, a potential investment property. We're going to see if it makes sense from a rental standpoint. And I wanted to go through kind of a different example than I've gone through so far here over the first couple of episodes of Would I Buy It? And this right here is just simply a townhome in Murfreesboro. And I wanted to bring this up because I think it's important to go into an example that somebody might be thinking of moving out of. And what I mean by that is I've helped plenty of homeowners over the years that maybe this was a first home for them, whatever the case might be, and they decided, hey, do I need to rent this home out or should I sell it? And they might be thinking, hey, maybe they have some inkling in the back of their mind or have some family members that own rental property. They might be thinking, hey, it makes sense to I own a home, let's just rent it out. And we're going to go through a real world example of, hey, would I buy this as a rental? Now there's going to be a lot, and in fact, as I'm pulling this up, let me just go through and pull up my trusty old spreadsheet so we can really dive into, would I buy it and see if it makes sense. But there's going to be a lot of details that we might not have all the info on. So we're going to approach this as if we're buying it today. Now, at the end of the analysis, I'm going to talk about how this might change if you are currently if you own the property currently and you're looking to rent it. And so let's just dive right in. So I mean, it's a nice newer townhome. I'm just looking at pictures. I mean, it looks move-in ready, which is great. So if somebody had say they own this place and they were wanting to rent it out, they don't need to do any work to it. It's ready to go. If you're thinking about buying it, you're ready to go and turn it into a rental. And so it's something that I know a lot of people will buy a rental property like this and turn it into a townhome like this and turn it into a rental. So let's just look at it. Let's look at the numbers objectively and see if it makes sense first from a purchase standpoint, and then we'll look at what it looks like from a buy and hold or a hold and rent standpoint. And so first and foremost, let's get our numbers plugged in. 279. Hopefully you'd be able to get it a little less than that, but still, let's just plug in what we have. Let's just say we are looking at having a 25% equity stake, because you really don't want to rent out a property with less of an equity stake in there than you would have if you had to buy it. And so just say we have a 209 250 mortgage balance, because that would put us at 75% or 25% equity. Now, what is the rent? That's going to be the first question that you're going to need to answer. And I'm not going to go through and do a whole in-depth rental market analysis. So if you own this particular property, or if you're interested in renting out this particular property, don't just go by this. However, one thing I've always found kind of works is Zillow's little rental estimate that they put on here. This, they don't have an actual estimate here for their sale. Those are almost always off. I'm not trying to say anything bad about Zillow, and yet their rental estimates are usually pretty much spot on. And of course, they don't have any data in here for, unless I'm going too fast and I missed it, that don't have any data in here for it. So probably should have pulled this up before we started the video, but that's all right. We're gonna dive in, and yeah, I'm just making sure I'm not missing it. And part of that could be the fact that it was built in 21. Sometimes newer homes, they just don't necessarily always show up. So we're actually going to get to go in depth a little bit in a little bit more detail than we typically would on one of these, which is great. So let's just jump in. And I'm going to use real tracks because that's one of my, well, actually, no, that's going to take probably too much time. In fact, I'm going to show y'all one other resource other than Zillow to identify if something makes sense from a rental standpoint, and that is Rentometer. So Rentometer, it's also pretty much always, I wouldn't say always spot on, but it's a good indicator of the ballpark of where we should be. And so we're looking at what, a 2-bed, 2.5-bath home. We plugged in our address. So let's just plug this in and simply click analyze. And it's going to tell us right away, basically the average for the area, what the median is for the area, 25th, the lowest 25th percentile, and then the upper percentile as well. Now you can even see here, and see if it'll let me zoom in. It did. You can see kind of the upper edge of the range here being 1733. Maybe you can even get a hair more than that because this is a newer property. It's got 2.5 baths instead of just the 1.5. And so again, we're very much doing a very quickie rental CMA. Go by, if you're actually gonna purchase this property, do more research than this because this is just scratching the surface. However, let's just say rental amount is going to be somewhere around the number that they threw on there. And let's call it 1750. We're going to even round it up a little bit. So immediately we see we're not hitting the 1% rule, which is okay. As we've talked about in some previous episodes of Would I Buy It, 1% rule is kind of antiquated. It's a great thing to get if you can get it. Like if we could 1% being if the rental amount is going to equal 1% of the sales price or the current market value. So ideally, you'd want to see this get $27.90 a month. That's pretty unrealistic just for the current climate, the current market. 6-7 years ago, we might have been able to find that. This is pretty normal. 0.6 to 0.8%. Honestly, closer to that 0.8 is even better. However, at 0.6, that's a little on the low side, but that's okay. Let's just keep rolling with it and let's see what we've got. So the next thing I'm going to do here is pull up a mortgage calculator. Now, if you don't have one, that's okay. Go to my website, foliaproperties.com, click up to the top here. You can go to mortgage calculator and you'll be able to see an actual mortgage calculator and get a rough idea of what the numbers look like. So let's just plug everything in like we've talked about. 279, down payment, let's say, is 25%. So, loan amount. Now, interest rate is going to be higher than what you see on here, because the reality is this is for owner occupants. And if you're getting an investment loan, it's probably going to be about 1% to 1.5% higher than that number. For easy math, we're just going to plug in 8 right here. We're going to say it's an 8% rate, 30-year term, property taxes on this property, $1,661 a year. You won't have any PMI because you have more than 20% down. And let's say the homeowner's insurance is, because it probably has an HO6 policy, because you have your HOA, we'll say $600 a year. It might even be a little lower than that. And then you have a monthly HOA of $125 a month, I believe. Yeah, it is $125. Perfect. So immediately we see that based on the numbers, we're going to be negative cash flow, close to 1850. I'm just going to, for easy math, type in 1850 for what we're getting them. For what this is, I'll leave out the HOX where you already have that in there. And so we already see, without even considering property management, vacancy, repair, we're underwater from a monthly standpoint. So if I was buying this home right now as a rental, I wouldn't touch it, not at all, because the numbers just don't make sense. The reality is, they just don't. If you can't buy an investment property and go into it thinking, hey, I'm going to lose $100 every single month and be okay with that. It's just not how things work. You're buying an investment, you're buying something to produce positive cash flow for you and to hopefully appreciate in value. We don't know what the future is going to hold. Just like 3 years ago, we didn't know the COVID-19 pandemic was coming. Just like last year, we didn't know interest rates were going to spike up. No one knows what the future of the economy is going to be. Historically, real estate's always been a fantastic investment. I've seen that personally, and yet at the same time, we don't know that values are going to mature. And so, because it's a negative cash flow, in my opinion, you can't buy it. Because we're negative without even having a property manager in here. I mean, once you add that, without even vacancy and repair, you're down $300 a month. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole when it comes to a rental property. I'm just not. Now, here's going to be the secret sauce. Like, let's just say you have a mortgage currently, like you own this property or you own one similar, and let's just say the rest of these numbers are good. You have 25% of an equity stake in there, so you've got a fair amount of equity. You're okay with $1,750 a month because maybe your mortgage plus your HOA, like maybe you have a good rate. Like, let's just plug in, let's just say you had a 3.5% rate because you bought it, you lived in it. You lived in it for a couple of years, you bought it when rates were low. Maybe you still owe 209, 250, but it's worth 279 right now. Your mortgage with HOA is $1,250 a month. So let's see what if that would make sense. So this is kind of transitioning from what I buy it to what I keep it. And so what I say, 1250 a month, including your HOA, including your property manager. Look, you're positive 300 a month. If I were this person right here and I owned this property and I wanted to own rental properties. So this is not the, kind of sounds good, but no, this is looking at it and saying rental properties are going to be my wealth determiner. It's going to be what helps me grow wealthy and helps change the trajectory of my family. If I were that person, absolutely, I would consider this as a rental because it's cash flow positive. It's a new property, or newer property, so hopefully some of those long-term expenses you're not going to really see. Maybe your repair reserve can be closer to that 5% instead of closer to 10. You're going to be in good shape. You're going to profit a little bit every single month. And then plus you have cheap money basically. If you have, say, a 3.5% interest rate, I wouldn't get rid of that if I had to. If I wanted to, I wouldn't get rid of that if I didn't have to, put it that way. And so anyway, long story short, would I buy this property? Not at an 8% rate because it's not cash flowing. It just doesn't make sense. But would I keep it if I wanted a cash flowing investment property and I had a good rate and the numbers just made sense? Absolutely, I would. And so, if y'all are interested in rentals and you want me to go over a specific one with you, reach out to me. I'm here to help in any way that I can. You can, if you're seeing this live on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, just feel free to drop a comment or shoot me a PM. You can also email me, rob@folioproperties.com, and I'm more than happy to go through your specific example, see if this makes sense, and we can just dive right in. And so anyway, y'all, I appreciate y'all taking the time to check out What I Buy It today. As always, I'm here to help. No questions too big or small. I'm happy to answer them all. So give me a shout if I can help in any way. I'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all very much.